Hun, Labad-Labad, Lakson, Lakson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Legarda, Libanan, Limkaychong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Ranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marinho, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Uwaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Nicias Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 310 members responded to the call.
With 310 distinguished members responding to the call, The chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the deferral of the approval of journal.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion approved. Majority
Mr.
Leader.
Speaker, before we proceed with the reference of business, today in the August chambers of the Philippine Congress, we have some guests coming from the 2nd District of Quezon Province, specifically from the municipality of Sariaya, Quezon. They are headed by Barangay Chairman Leonicio Umali, Barangay Councilor Belchor Ocampo, Barangay Councilor Armando Gamboa, Barangay Councilor Ariel Aro, Barangay Councilor Noel Moreno, Barangay Councilor Jimmy Sebok, and Barangay Councilor John Reed Dimalig.
We acknowledge the presence of our guests from the province of Quezon. Welcome, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer to the next, move to the next agenda, which is the reference of business. And I request the Secretary General to be directed to read the titles of the said bills, resolutions on first readings, as well as communications and committee reports. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Is there no objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is now directed to read the titles of the bills, resolutions on first reading, as well as messages, communications, committee reports for the referral of the appropriate committee.
Reference of business bills on first reading. House Bill 3505, providing for reparation and recognition of victims of human rights violations during the Marcos regime, by Representatives Manuel, Castro, France, and Brosas.
To the Committee of the Human Rights.
House Bill 3506, promoting the development of the bamboo industry, by Representative D. Faustino.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3507, to strengthen the charter of the Philippine National Police Academy as provided under PD 1780, by Representative Libanan.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 3508, declaring the Northern Antique protected seascape and landscape located in the municipalities of Libertad, Pandan, Sebaste, Colasi, and Tibiao in Antique as an ecotourism zone, by Representative Legarda.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 3509, creating a separate district engineering office in the city of Antipolo, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 3510, ordaining the Barangay Health Workers Incentive and Development Act of 2022, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 3511, converting the solid Marikina Infanta Provincial Road in the 2nd District of Antipolo City, Rizal into a national road, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 3512, expanding the purposes and application of the Special Education Fund, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 3513, providing for the restoration and mandatory military training for all grade 11 and grade 12 students, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 3514, providing all barangay officials a lump sum retirement pay equivalent to 1-year honorarium, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 3515, requiring personnel of the BFP to be certified first responders, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 3516, providing for upgrading the rank classification structure of the uniformed members of the BFP and BJMP organization, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 3517, providing for a mechanism to determine the propriety of filing a criminal complaint against alleged possessor of unlicensed ammunition under certain conditions, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 3518, prescribing stiffer penalties for the crimes of delivering prisoners from jail and infidelity in the custody of prisoners, by Representative Acop.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 3519, institutionalizing the establishment of tertiary care hospitals in all regions, by Representative Ginto.
To the Committee of Health,
House Bill 3520, streamlining the process of issuance of permits, certifications, clearances, and licenses for housing and resettlement projects in disaster-affected areas and imposing sanctions for non-compliance, by Representative Ginto.
to the Committee of Disaster Resilience,
House Bill 3521, declaring June 24 of every year a special public holiday in Balayan, Batangas in celebration of the Parada ng Lechon, by Representative Buhain.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 3522, converting the LTO located in Taal, Batangas into the LTO District Office of Taal, Batangas, by Representative Buhain.
Committee of Transportation,
House Bill 3523, granting healthcare, retirement death benefits, and other privileges to retired Filipino Olympians, by Representative Buhain.
to the Committee of Youth and Sports Development,
House Bill 3524, providing for the establishment of the Balayan TESDA Training and Assessment Center in Balayan, Batangas, by Representative Buhain.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 3525, strengthening the Games and Amusements Board, by Representative Buhain.
to the Committee on Games and Amusements,
House Bill 3526, protecting and promoting the rights to equality and non-discrimination of the basis of race, ethnicity, and religion, by Representative Hataman.
Committee on Human Rights,
House Bill 3527, establishing Bacal 3 National High School and Bacal 3 Talavera Nueva Ecija, by Representative Swansing Micaela Angela.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 3528, instituting a fertilizer and pesticide subsidy program, by Representative Lee.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 3529, right-sizing the national government to improve public service delivery, by Representatives Duterte and Yap Eric.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization,
House Bill 3530, providing for the modernization of the public health emergency preparedness and response capabilities, establishing the Center for Disease Prevention and Control, by Representatives Duterte and Yap Eric.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 3531, instituting the Magna Carta of Daycare Workers, by Representative Bolilla.
to the Committee on Welfare of Children,
House Bill 3532, creating 8 additional branches of the Regional Trial Court in the National Capital Judicial Region to be stationed in Caloocan, by Representative Malapitan.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 3533, providing fewer job applicants a 20% discount in the payment of fees and charges for certain certificates and clearances issued by government agencies, by Representative Malapitan.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill 3534, declaring April 7 of every year as Barangay Health Workers Day to be known as BHW Day, by Representative Malapitan.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bills 3535 and 3536, converting certain roads in the 1st District of Caloocan City into national roads, by Representative Malapitan.
to the Committee of Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 3537, granting senior citizens a 30% discount in the payment of real property tax and special educational fund tax on land and buildings constituted as family home, by Representative Malapitan.
to the Special Committee on Senior Citizens,
House Bill 3538, converting into component cities the capital towns of provinces without a city, by Representative Daza.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 3539, right-sizing the national government to improve public service delivery, by Representatives Yap, Edvic, Tulfo, Jocelyn, and Soriano.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization,
House Bill 3540, providing for the modernization of the public health emergency preparedness and response capabilities, establishing the Center for Disease Prevention and Control, by Representatives Yap, Edvic, Tulfo, Jocelyn, and Soriano.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 3541, mandating all penal institutions with areas suitable for agriculture to implement agricultural livelihood programs for prisoners, by Representatives Yap, Eric, and Duterte.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 3542, providing communication and data accessibility and allowance to all basic education teachers during public health emergency and other analogous cases, by Representatives Yap, Eric, and Duterte.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 3543, institutionalizing the grant of monthly teaching supplies allowances for public school teachers, by Representatives Yap, Eric, and Duterte.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 3544, imposing stiffer penalties for the offenses of stealing or vandalizing of government road and traffic signs, warning devices, accessories, and other facilities, by Representative Paduano.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 3545, establishing the National Cancer Center of the Philippines, by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 3546, institutionalizing a national program for the sustainable development and promotion of the cacao industry.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3547, creating an agricultural pension fund to provide pension benefits to farmers and fisherfolk by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 3548, promoting the use of aeroponics technology to be applied in agricultural production of high-value added crops and vegetable farming by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3549, institutionalizing the Young Farmers Program by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3550, establishing the Philippine Rain-Fed Agriculture Institute by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3551, promoting soil and water conservation technologies and approaches for sustainable land management by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3552, establishing a national program for the coffee industry by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3553, amending the Livestock and Poultry Feeds Act of 1956 by Representative Colada.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3554, creating high-level teaching positions of public school teachers by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 3555, requiring all public elementary and secondary schools to prepare and implement a land use development and infrastructure plan for the optimum utilization of its resources in addressing basic education facilities shortages by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 3556, granting broader protection for consumers, amending the Consumer Act of the Philippines by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 3557, increasing 3,000 pesos the monthly personal economic relief allowance granted to government employees by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 3558, instituting reforms to further protect and develop the nursing profession by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulations.
House Bill 3559, creating the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Commission by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Games and Amusements.
House Bill 3560, providing for Magna Carta for the road transportation sector by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 3561, establishing carpool service in the country by Representative Recto.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 3562, converting the St. Bernard-Hinungan Diversion Road located in the municipalities of St. Bernard in Hinunganan, Southern Leyte into a national road by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 3563, institutionalizing the transition of the government to e-governance by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Information, Communications, Technology.
House Bill 3564, providing protection to consumers and merchants engaged in internet transactions, creating the Electronic Commerce Bureau by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee of Trade and Industry.
House Bill 3565, mandating the free use of government-donated farm machinery and equipment by Representative Yap Christopherson.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3566, institutionalizing the Convergence Strategy for Sustainable Rural Development by Representative Enverga.
To the Committee on Rural Development.
House Bill 3567, providing for daycare centers rehabilitation and improvement program, creating daycare centers rehabilitation and improvement fund by Representative Enverga.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
House Bill 3568, declaring every fourth day of November as a special non-working holiday in the province of Quezon by Representative Enverga.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 3569, creating Northern Quezon Development Authority in Quezon by Representative Enverga.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 3570, strengthening the local swine and poultry industries, creating for the purpose the Swine and Poultry Competitiveness Enhancement Fund by Representative Enverga.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 3571, declaring Pulilio Group of Islands and the municipality of Mauban in Quezon a tourism zone by Representative Enverga.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 3572, declaring July 7 of every year a special working holiday to commemorate the founding of the Katipunan by Representatives Castro Franz, Brosas, and Manuel.
To the Committee on Provision of Laws.
House Bill 3573, declaring Andres Bonifacio as the national hero by Representatives Castro Franz, Brosas, and Manuel.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 3574, identifying tourism development areas in Isabela, mandating support for tourism development, creating the Isabela Tourism Council by Representative Go Ed Christopher.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 3575, regulating the sale of motor vehicles by requiring the installation of road frequency identification tags as a prerequisite for the purchase of motor vehicles and registration with the LTO by Representative Go Ed Christopher.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 3576, establishing the Philippine Corn Research Institute by Representative Go Ed Christopher.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 3577, establishing the Philippine Science High School campus in Reina Mercedes, Isabela by Representative Go Ed Christopher.
to the Committee on Science and Technology,
Communications, letter dated May 11, 2022 of the COA Regional Director, Regional Office Number 2, furnishing the House with copies of their annual audit reports for the year ending December 31st, 2021 on certain state universities and colleges.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letter dated May 12, 2022 of the BIROIC Deputy Commissioner, submitting to the House a copy of their consolidated monthly report of disbursements for the month of April 2022.
to the Committee on Appropriation,
Letters dated May 12 and June 3, 2022 of the PLLO, Head and Acting Presidential Advisor on Legislative Affairs, submitting to the House the details on appropriations, obligations, and disbursements of the PLLO for the months of April and May 2022.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
Letter dated May 16, 2022 of the Deputy Executive Director of the Public-Private Partnership Center, copy furnished the House submitting to the COA Director, Cluster 2 Oversight and Public Debt Management Agencies a copy of their agency action plan and status of implementation as of May 16, 2022 on the audit observations and recommendations of the COA for the calendar year 2021.
to the Committee of Appropriations,
Public account. Public account. Public account.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letters and emails from certain local chief executives and officials transmitting to the House copies of their reports on fund utilization and status of government of program project activity implementation relative to the local government support fund and Bayanihan grant to cities and municipalities and certain months
to the
of
Committee on Banks
2022.
and Financial Intermediaries,
Sabihin niya dapat. Sabihin niya dapat.
Appropriate.
So appropriated ba tayo?
Kailan, sir? To the committee.
tapos na. To the Committee on Appropriations,
Letter dated May 17 of the COA OIC Audit Team Leader, Audit Team Number R309, Regional Office Number 3, furnishing the House with a copy of their annual audit report on the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy San Narciso Zambales for the year ending December 31st, 2021. Public account.
to the Committee on Public Accounts. Thank you.
Letter dated May 17, 2022 of the BSP Acting Deputy Director, Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries,
Letter dated May 17, 2022 of the DOTR Undersecretary for Finance, transmitting to the House a copy of their summary performance monthly report appropriations, obligations, and disbursements as of April 30, 2022.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
Letter dated May 19, 2022 of the COA OIC Regional Director, Regional Office Number 4-A, furnishing the House with a copy of their annual audit report on the Southern Luzon State University for the year ending December 31st, 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letter dated May 19, 2022 of the COA OIC Regional Director, Regional Office Number 4-A, furnishing the House with a copy of their annual audit report on the Forest Products Research and Development Institute for the year ending December 31st, 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letter dated May 24, 2022 of the COA OIC Regional Director, Regional Office Number 4-A, furnishing the House with a copy of their annual audit report on the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources Research and Development for the year ending December 31st, 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letter dated May 25, 2022 of the Undersecretary for Special Concerns and Supervising Officer, LEDAC. Copy furnished the House, submitting to the COA Director, Cluster 2 Oversight and Public Debt Management Agencies a copy of the agency action plan and status of implementation on COA's audit observations and recommendations for the calendar year 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letters dated May 26, 2022 of the COA OIC Regional Director, Regional Office Number 4-A, furnishing the House with copies of their annual audit reports on Cavite State University Indang Cavite and on the University of Rizal System for the year ending December 31st, 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letters dated May 30 and 31, 2022 of the BSP Deputy Director, Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances.
to the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries,
Letter dated May 30, 2022 of the COA Audit Team Leader, Team R5-07, furnishing the House with a copy of their annual audit report on the Dr. Emilio B. Espinosa Sr. Memorial State College of Agriculture and Technology, Mandaon, Masbate for the calendar year 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letter dated May 30, 2022 of the DOLE Secretary, submitting to the House copies of their semi-annual report to Congress for the period of July to December 2021.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
Email dated May 31, 2022 of the DOLE International Labor Affairs Bureau, providing the House with copies of individual reports of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in the Middle Eastern and African region for the period of July to December 2021.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
Annual audit reports for the year ending December 31st, 2021 on certain water districts.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Annual audit report on the Don Honorio Ventura State University for the year ending December 31st, 2021.
to the Committee on Public Accounts. Majority Leader,
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the following speeches to the appropriate committees. If you allow me to read. Representative Bernos,
ang dami.
on July 27, 2022, referred to the disaster resilience. Representative Cuanco, privilege speech delivered on August 1, 2022, referred to nuclear energy. Representative Hataman, privilege speech delivered on August 2, 2022, referred to the Public Order and Committee on Public Order and Safety. Representative Teves, privilege speech delivered on August 2, 2022, referred to the Committee on Food Security. Representative De Jesus, privilege speech delivered on August 2, 2022, referred to the Committee on Energy. Representative Plaza, privilege speech delivered on August 3, 2022, referred to the Committee on Food and Agriculture. Representative Castro, privilege speech delivered on August 3, 2022, referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Representative Daza, privilege speech delivered on August 8, referred to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation. Representative Singson Mihan, privilege speech delivered on August 8, referred to the Committee on Disaster Resilience. Representative Dagook, privilege speech delivered on August 8, 2022, referred to the Committee on Energy. Representative Plato, privilege speech delivered on August 8, 2022, referred to the Committee on Disaster Resilience. Representative Bordado, privilege speech delivered on August 8, referred to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education. Representative Manuel, privilege speech delivered on August 8, referred to the Committee on Youth and Sports Development. Representative Castro, privilege speech delivered on August 8, referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs. Representative Herrera. Privilege speech delivered on August 9, referred to the Committee on Transportation. Representative Barbers. Privilege speech delivered on August 9, referred to the Committee on Transportation. Representative Luistro. Privilege speech delivered on August 10, referred to the Committee on Justice. Representative Plaza. Privilege speech delivered on August 10, referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Food. Representative Marcoleta. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Legislative Franchise and Trade and Industry. Representative Lagman. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Basic Education, Culture, and Higher Education. Representative Magsino. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs. Representative Adjong. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Disaster Resilience. Representative Goles. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Health. Representative Castro. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Basic Education, Culture, and Higher Technical Education. Representative Brosas. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality. Representative Manuel. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, referred to the Committee on Basic Education, Culture, and Higher Education and Technical Education. And Representative Abante. Privilege speech delivered on August 15, 2022, referred to the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
There is a,
So moved, Mr. Speaker.
okay, there is a motion to refer the aforesaid stated speeches to the proper committees. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the change of referral of the following measures. House Bill number 89 from the Committee on Energy to the Special Committee on Nuclear Energy. House Bill numbers 371, 542, 1255, and 2103 from the Committees on Government Reorganization, Science and Technology and Energy to the Special Committee on Nuclear Energy. House Bill numbers 481 to the Committees on Government Reorganization, Science, Technology, and Energy to the Special Committee on Energy, and House Bill number 2921 from the Committee on Energy to the Special Committee on Nuclear Energy.
There's a motion to change the committee referral of the aforementioned measures. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, we would like to recognize our guests at the gallery, the guests of the Honorable Jason Almonte. They are Honorable Godwin Handuman and Mr. Novem Garabal.
Representatives, guests of Congressman Almonte.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader.
with leave of the House, I move that we open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Chair now declares the privilege hour. Privilege hour. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the gentle lady from Kalinga Party List, the Honorable Irene Gay Saulog, be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Irene Gay F. Saulog of Party List Kalinga, you're recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Isang mapaggalingang araw po sa ating lahat. Today, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. As a Filipino, we put premium on education of our youth. The full return to in-person face-to-face classes from remote learning delivery is taking place this year. The remote learning delivery may have allowed learning continuity to some extent, but it cannot be denied that such interim arrangement during the pandemic was not sufficient to cover the expected learning outcomes And overall, the lockdown of schools has aggravated the already dismal state of our country's basic education. The Philippines implemented one of the longest lockdowns in the world during the pandemic, with 2 school years of remote learning delivery substituting the usual in-person. The educational system suffered enormously, as shown by international data. While the actual extent of learning losses may differ from various locations, schools, and learners around the country, the national average is alarming. According to the World Bank study, the learning poverty of our country accounts to 90.9%, compared to other ASEAN countries, such as Singapore at 2.8, Vietnam at 18.1, Thailand at 23.4, Malaysia at 42%, and Indonesia at 52.8%. International studies, Mr. Speaker, are saying that aside from the immediate implication of learning losses, it also has a long-term impact in terms of the individual productivity and socio-economic performance of the country. The tall order of the President for the return of all in-person classes is timely and absolutely a must. We cannot afford to have more lockdowns, he said, and I concur. It is not only true to economic recovery, but for the needed catching up or learning recovery. As an educator myself, Mr. Speaker, I know that while learning with technology may be of help, but it cannot substitute entirely the much needed social interactions that a school could offer. The demand to protect the children should remain our top priority, and bringing them back to school must be viewed as complementary strategy. It is not only indispensable for children's psychological and emotional well-being, but also to address the gaps and risk of an extended remote learning mode. The results of international studies are giving us idea pure remote learning delivery may not have worked well in our context. We still have an account how many from those enrolled have consistently attended the virtual sessions or have complied with synchronous or asynchronous learning activities. Given the many limitations, the teachers have chosen to be more considerate and lenient on required outputs in order to pass a subject. This may have had contributed to gaps on the supposed learning targets. If losses on learning were most likely to those who were enrolled, it is much more to those who have completed left schools during the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, in the first year alone, at least 865 private schools suspended operations. This is according to September 14, 2020 data of the Department of Education. Just imagine 865 private schools with teaching and non-teaching personnel were unemployed. Enrollment in private school decreased. Pre-pandemic, school year 2019 to 2020 had 4.3 million students. This dropped to 3.38 million in school year 2020 to 2021, the first year of the pandemic. For school year 2021 to 2022, this further decreased to 3.2 million as of the November 15, 2021 data of the Department of Education. Mr. Speaker, at the onset of the pandemic, there was great migration from private to public schools. Hence, there is a need to account whether to decline of enrollment in the private schools as a result, migration from private to public, as it is a result because of the number of learners who have been forced to stop or leave the school due to the impact of pandemic to employment and livelihood of their respective families. The intricacies concerning learning losses and the continuing challenge of improving the quality education is hard to tackle. Just in a single instance. This is too huge that may overwhelm us to the extent of losing sight to see possible solutions. Mr. Speaker, that is why instead of looking at the big problem, I would want to humbly call for support so we can help address the gigantic challenge ahead of us. Every start of the school year, we see on the news the perennial problem of congestion in the public schools. Classroom filled to capacity classroom divided into two covered courts and outdoor spaces used as classroom. All these are done to accommodate the vast enrollment. The decrease in enrollment in private schools that I have highlighted earlier may result to further increase of enrollment in the public schools. Mr. Speaker, the capacity of our public school system will be simply inadequate to meet the high demands, especially on highly urbanized and congested cities, where school construction may not be a viable option due to time consideration and lack of buildable spaces. The Department of Education is anticipating a tremendous shortage of classrooms given to its projected enrollment. There is no way it could be solved, even with suggested remedies, including shifting of classes up to 3 in a day and the use of temporary learning spaces. It is for this reason I stand to urge the Executive Department, particularly the DepEd, to consider the situation of the private school, not as an additional burden, but as a possible solution to the problem of the ballooning number of learners in the public schools. Please remember, many private schools have been forced to shut down by the demands of the remote learning delivery during the more than 2 long years of community quarantine, which can be reviewed in the return of in-person classes. First, we must not neglect the private education sector and give it the help it deserves to return to its full operation. This is the most practical response considering the absorptive capacity will be the main issue following the tall order of the full return of in-person classes by the Chief Executive. Private schools which were affected by the pandemic should be tapped to address the need for classroom and teachers. In the same manner, Mr. Speaker, public schools alone cannot deliver quality education. This is the reality that we have today. The government simply does not have enough classrooms, teachers, and resources. There is not enough time to increase capacity considering the limited time we have for the opening of the next school year. Buildable space in existing public school campuses is scarce, especially in highly urbanized and populated cities. The private sector already have these in place. They have the operational capacity to absorb a significant segment of the enrollees. It is pragmatic and efficient to utilize the private schools to ease the congestion in the public schools. That's why, Mr. Speaker, I am urging the Department of Education to help the private sector so that they, in return, can help meet the looming congestions of learners in the public school. Where the senior high school phase came as part of the full implementation of the K-12, I remember we were also confronted with these same problems. The partnership with private learning institutions through the voucher program was found useful. Mr. Speaker, I believe it is reasonable to try the same approach as we prepare for the full return of in-person classes. It is not only solve problem of congestion in the public schools, but also put our private school in a better position to succeed. If the Department of Education is considering temporary learning spaces such as community covered courts to address classroom shortage, why not consider the unused private school facilities, which are more conducive for learning? We have a situation where public schools have an overspilling enrollment while private schools have facilities but lack learners. Mr. Speaker, therefore, an inclusive approach is necessary and will be beneficial to both public and private schools. After all, we have served just one nation, our Philippines. The quality of education in one affects the quality of Filipino citizen as a whole. As what an old African proverb says, it takes a village to raise a child. In our situation today, in this case, it takes a nation to educate our vast young Filipino learners, and we have to be one on this. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, our esteemed Congresswoman of Kalinga Party List, Kong Saulog. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Irene Gay Saulog to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? There being none, the chair. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my previous motion. Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Raul Manuel for his interpellation.
The Honorable of Kabataan Party List, Kong Manuel, is recognized. For his
Good day, Mr.
interpellation.
Speaker. Good day to my honorable colleagues here in the 19th Congress. I would like to ask if our fellow representative from Kalinga Party List is willing to yield to some questions.
You're recognized. Please proceed.
Okay. So I'd like to express that we support the call for support for our educational institutions, especially that we are preparing for face-to-face classes this year. Actually, isa sa mga balita, nakakalungkot na balita na nasagap natin ay halimbawa yung Kolehiyo de San Lorenzo. On the first day of classes na nandun na yung kanilang mga estudyante, naka-uniform, suot yung mga backpack, pati yung mga magulang nandun din, ang kanilang pinuntahan pala ay hindi opening nung kanilang school year, pero pagsasara po nung kanilang paaralan. Doon in-announce sa kanila na magsasara na ang Kolehiyo de San Lorenzo dahil sa financial constraints na hinarap ng paaralan kahit na nagsimula na yung kanilang enrollment process at nakapag-collect na ng tuition and other school fees sa kanilang mga estudyante. So yung tanong po natin sa ating colleague, Mr. Speaker, ano ba yung mga pwede nating magawa sa loob ng Kongreso para hindi na mauwi sa ganito yung ating mga maliliit na private schools na yung epekto din ay nag-ripple papunta sa ating mga estudyante?
One of the reforms that we want to do as a representative of Kalinga Party List is to give subsidy to the private schools. And also to encourage the Department of Education to provide help, maybe a voucher or financial assistance to our private schools.
Speaker, Now, doon po sa pagbibigay natin ng subsidy sa ating mga maliliit na private schools, yan ay isang bagay na dapat ay agaran na nating harapin. On the other hand naman po, doon sa mga malalaking private schools na iba naman yung kanilang situation, nandyan yung mga ulat mula sa mga estudyante nila na dahil mas stable yung mga malalaking private school, sila yung merong kumpiyansa na on a regular basis ay magtaas ng kanilang tuition and other school fees. So, gusto nating tanungin kung sang-ayon ba yung ating colleague na dapat ay mas pag-igihan natin yung pagbabantay sa tuition and other school fees at kung magtataas man ng bayarin sa ganitong mga paaralan, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Actually, when I talk about private schools, I'm pertaining to developing and small nonprofit private institutions. And I think they needed more help from our chamber, or we also need to ask the help of our colleagues here in the Congress to really expedite the help that we can give to these private sectors.
Thank you. Sunod po, Mr. Speaker, tungkol naman sa higher education. Kasi kung sa basic education ay naghahanda na yung ating bansa na magbukas na yung mga public elementary and high schools natin this November. Pero yung pace naman for higher education is different. Actually, ang usual nating naririnig mula sa Commission on Higher Education ay bahala yung mga paaralan na sa discretion ng kanilang mga school administrators or sa kanilang mga board of regents kailan sila magbubukas. So I'd like to ask yung ating colleague, Mr. Speaker, kung ano din ba yung mga pwede pa nating magawa para naman ma-hasten din yung panunumbalik ng face-to-face classes sa ating higher education institutions. Dahil habang totoo naman na relatively mas kaya ng mga nasa university level, yung ating mga college students, yung independent learning, pero hindi pa rin naman lahat ay nakakasabay.
When it comes to learning, especially when we talk about our learners, it is on top of our priority, the safety and the security of our students. It will be very beneficial that we will open our school, especially start our face-to-face, but it will be also a big help when we do consultative meetings, especially with the private sectors. We know that we have to also respect their decision if they are ready or not. What is important is that they will abide and follow the directives of our Secretary of the Department of Education.
Yeah. That would be all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to our colleague. Again, maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maraming salamat. Majority Leader.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to interpolate the Honorable Irene Gay Solug, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Solug to with the interpolations thereto to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Privilege hour is terminated.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the suspension of session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the guest of the Honorable Dale B. Corvera and the guest of Honorable Representative Eddie Bong Plaza. These are from the TESDA regional and provincial offices. We have with us today Mr. Tarhata S. Mapandi, the Regional Director of TESDA Caraga. Mr. Ray M. Cueva, Provincial Director of Agusan del Norte. Ms. Catalina O. Tacubao, Provincial Director of Surigao del Norte. Ms. Novieleta A. Dispo, Acting Provincial Director of Agusan del Sur. Mr. Luel D. Manigo, Provincial Director of Dinagat Islands. And Mr. Romel N. M. Natad, Provincial Director of Surigao del Sur.
On behalf of Speaker Romualdez, to the guests of Congressman Corvera and Congressman Eddie Bong Plaza, to the TESDA provincial officers, welcome to the House of the Representatives. Welcome, sirs. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Speaker, I move for the conversion of the Special Committee on Flagship Programs and Projects into a standing committee with 20 members and its jurisdiction as follows. All matters directly and principally relating to the monitoring, evaluation, and review of highly strategic infrastructure programs and projects identified and approved by the NEDA Board Committee on Infrastructure and/or the Investment Coordination Committee, and included in the General Appropriations Act, including the proposal of possible game-changing and high-impact flagship programs and projects, and the necessity of recommending requisite courses of action in relation thereto.
The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the majority, I move to elect the following members to the various committees as follows. To the Committee on Agriculture and Food as Vice Chairperson, Tariela Leody ODF. To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources as Vice Chairperson, Billones Emmanuel Tawi. To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture as members, Rodriguez Eulogio R. Hernandez Charis Ansi. To the Committee on Ecology as member, Kua Midi N. To the Committee on Energy as members, Tariela Leody ODF, Villa Zaldi S. To the Committee on Health as members, Hernandez Charis Ansi, Kua Midi N, D. Faustino Michael III T, Ordanes Rodolfo Ompong M. To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education as member, Matugas Francisco Jose Bingo II F. To the Committee on Interparliamentary Relations and Diplomacy as member, Go Mark O. To the Committee on Labor and Employment as member, Tariela Leody ODF. To the Committee on Legislative Franchises as member, Teodora Marjorie Ann A. To the Committee on Local Government as members, Tariela Leody ODF, Rodriguez Eulogio R. To the Committee on Mindanao Affairs as member, Duterte Paulo Z. To the Committee on Natural Resources as members, Kua Midi N, D. Faustino Michael III T. To the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs as Vice Chairpersons, T. Alan Yu, Yap Christian Tel A. As members, Plato Salvador A. Gato, Siriaco Jr. B. Saulog, Irene Gay F. Rivera, Noel Bong N. To the Committee on Public Accounts as Vice Chairperson, Luis Trojerville R. To the Committee on Public Works and Highways as members, Domingo Danny A. Billones Emmanuel Tawi. To the Committee on Tourism as Vice Chairperson, Emano Yevgeny Vicente B. To the Committee on Transportation as member, Kua Midi N. To the Committee on Ways and Means as member, Tariela Leody ODF, Baskug Alfelito Alfel M. Kua Midi N. To the Committee on Flagship Programs and Projects as member, Billones Emmanuel Tawi. To the Special Committee on Food Security, Rodriguez Eulogio R. To the Special Committee on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity as member, D. Faustino Michael III T. To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens as member, Rodriguez Eulogio R. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the elections of the distinguished members to the various committees? The chair hears none.
Speaker, I move to adjourn session until tomorrow, Wednesday, the 17th of August, 2 p.m. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Session is adjourned until tomorrow, August 17 at 2 p.m.